So it is Wednesday, October 11th, 2023. It's 6:05, and we are going to call the Raymore Board of Adjustment meeting
To order.
to order. So we will start with roll call.
Okay. Board Member Velasco. Board Member Martin. Here. Board Member Harrison, absent. Board Member Bailey. Here. Vice Chair Woods.
Here.
And Chairman Hatcher is absent. We do have a quorum at 4.
All righty, if we can all stand, we'll go ahead and do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, next on our agenda, we have personal appearances, which there are none. So we'll move to the consent agenda, approval of the minutes from the September 13th, 2023 meeting. Were there any questions on the minutes? Or would someone like to make a motion to accept those minutes?
Motion to accept.
Can I have a second?
Second.
So that concludes that, and we will,
There will need a vote.
I'm sorry?
There was a motion and a second. You'll just need to call for a vote.
Oh. So should we all vote on whether the minutes should be approved?
Aye.
Everybody say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? The motion passes. Next would be unfinished business, which there is none. So getting on with new business, we're going to first discuss case number 23039, Elite Fence and Deck, and the variance of use. So we're going to open up a public hearing. Is there anybody here to speak on the case number 23039?
The applicant does send his regards. He's actually on vacation. This was a pre-scheduled thing, and so staff would be more than happy to make a presentation on this topic.
That would be greatly appreciated.
Thank you. Tonight you have in front of you a variance to allow for a location and expansion of a construction, sales, and service use within a property that's Zone C3 Regional Commercial District. The subject property is located east of South Sunrise Drive and north of Don Street. You will see some pictures just taken out kind of on the, I guess what would be the west side of the property, the south side of the property. Existing zoning to that, to the north is C3 Regional Commercial District. To the south is R3A Multifamily Residential District. To the east is M1 Light Industrial Commercial District. And to the west is C2 General Commercial District. The growth management plan identifies this area as appropriate for future business park, which is important to note because the definition of a business park is actually a mixture of commercial and industrial uses. So it's kind of a hybrid between commercial and industrial. The major street plan identifies South Sunrise Drive as a local road, as well as Don Street as a local road. With this being a public hearing, this item was noticed in the September 20th, 2023 edition of the North Cass Herald. Items entered into the record, exhibits 1 through 6, and that would be the mailed notices of adjoining property owners, the notice of publication, the Unified Development Code, the application, the growth management plan, and the staff report. There is quite a bit of history with the property going back to 1979, when the final plat of Johnson Industrial Park was approved. But more recently, July 19th of 2022, the Planning Commission approved a site plan for Ascend, which is a multifamily residential project, which is to the south of the subject property. City Council then, later in August of 2022, approved a final plat for that same Ascend project. On November the 15th, 2022, Planning Commission approved the site plan for Elite Fence and Deck, which is essentially was a remodel of the old Gymco building. And on December 12th, City Council approved the final plat for Elite Fence, which was Lot 1. More recently, last month, this body here did in fact approve a variance for development standards regarding the construction of an 8-foot security fence that was slatted within a C3 regional commercial district. In the staff comments, you'll notice there's a table of uses, and just so that you're kind of familiar with the table and kind of the meanings of those, you'll see at the very top, you'll see PO, C1, C2, C3, BP, M1, M2. Those are all the uses allowed within the commercial area. And then you'll see P is going to be for permitted, C is for conditional, and S is for special conditions, meaning it's allowed, but there's certain conditions that have to be met in order for that to happen. I've specifically highlighted into the staff report the construction, sales, and service, which is obviously permitted in business park, light industrial, and in heavy industrial. So why that's important is obviously the future land use plan identifies this area as appropriate for business park, which is essentially this mixture of what the applicant is trying to do with expanding their light industrial business for this subject site. A construction, sales, and service business is only permitted in a BP or light industrial or heavy industrial zoning. However, there's obviously some landscaping requirements for that. With those landscaping requirements, as mentioned in the previous report, the applicant would need to come back with a site plan that would show those landscaping, and so just wanted to make sure that you all were aware of that. You'll also notice kind of on comment number 2, staff wanted to highlight that code within the section of the Unified Development Code, as not everyone gets a chance to look at it, and just wanted to make sure that you were all aware of it. Notices were sent to 9 adjoining property owners. No objections or concerns were raised. In fact, I received one phone call that just had a general question of what is it that we're requesting to do, or the applicant is requesting to do, and answer that question, but there was no objections to that. Also tonight, there needs to be a concurring 4 votes in favor of the project in order for it to be approved, which obviously there's only 4 of you, so that kind of, if there was 5, it would be a different story. So I just wanted to differentiate that. City staff did determine that the requested variance allows for the applicant to meet their short and long-term business plans without requesting other actions that may have been detrimental to the impact of the surrounding area, such as rezoning the property. And why that's important, if they would have come in to rezone the property, there's certain uses within light industrial that isn't necessarily appropriate for this area. However, with construction, sales, and service, staff did feel that is a use in which would be appropriate with the expansion, as well as kind of their long and short-term plans of this was to essentially come back in a longer term to be able to use like a multi-tenant type commercial use. And that also goes back into kind of the aesthetics of the building as well. So having C2 or having that C3 zoning for the property allows for more four-sided architecture as opposed to metal buildings, let's say. So with that in mind, city staff does recommend to the Board of Adjustments to accept the staff proposed findings of fact and approve case number 23039, Elite Fence and Deck variance of use, and staff will be happy to answer any questions.
I just want to verify for the record, is there anybody in the audience who wants to speak on case number 23039 for Elite Fence and Deck? If not, the public hearing is closed for that case.
Question.
Okay, go ahead.
You mentioned here on item number 3 there, it talks about how if it were currently zoned as BP M1 or M2, then appropriate screening would be required. I'm assuming because it's C3, there's not. But then you mentioned something about screening later. What's the
screening differentiates a little bit, and it more or less is outlined in that table. So if it were BP or M1, that then goes to a type C as opposed to what was originally proposed in last month's discussion, which was essentially them submitting a landscape plan that staff would review along with that site plan to make sure it was compliant with the code.
Okay, so there is going to be a landscaping plan at some point?
There would be with the site plan when they come forward with that.
Got it.
Are there any other questions from the board before we close the public hearing?
No.
Okay, so the public hearing is now closed for case number 23039, Elite Fence and Deck. Is there anybody on the board who would like to make a motion on this?
I'll make a motion that we approve case number 23039, Elite Fence and Deck with variance of use.
I'll second.
And for a vote, anybody who is for it, say aye.
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 And those opposed? Seeing, hearing none. Case number 23039, Elite Fence and Deck, passes the vote with 4 members. Moving on to the next case number, 23041, 413 Eagle Glen Drive fence variance. That also is a public hearing. It's now open to the floor. If someone would like to come forward and speak, please state your name and your address.
How you doing? Caleb Gunn, 413 Eagle Glen, Raytown, Missouri. I guess it was a small mix-up between 2 vendors of the plans, and once we submitted it, the contractor that I used wasn't the actual guy that submitted the plan, so it kind of got mixed up in that way. So we thought we was using the same exact plan, which it wasn't, but when the guy had asked, did you want to move it over a couple of feet, I wasn't aware of any city laws. I've never been kind of this court setting or anything like that, so I'm knowing now. But me and my wife did discuss that we didn't want our fence on the outside towards the street, which the sidewalks will be facing and anybody could just enter. So that's one of the reasons why we put it to the side. So that's pretty much it.
Does anybody have any questions for the applicant? No? Okay. You can have a seat. Anyone else to speak on case number 23041? Public hearing is closed. Public hearing is not closed. Go ahead, staff comments.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Gunn, for your presentation. Tonight you have in front of you a variance to allow for a 6-foot fence to be located within the front yard setback located at 413 Eagle Glen Drive. You'll see pictures looking directly at the front of the property as well as from the south side of the property. The existing zoning for that is R1P, Single Family Residential Plan District. You'll see the surrounding zoning to the north, south, east, and west are all the same as this is surrounded in the Eagle Glen subdivision, which is R1P, Single Family Residential Plan District. The growth management plan identifies this area as appropriate for low-density residential. The major street plan classifies Eagle Glen Drive and Cove Drive as local roads. As this is a public hearing, we did advertise this item in the September 20th, 2023 edition of the Northcast Herald. Items to enter into the record of exhibits 1 through 6 would be the mailed notices to adjoining property owners, notice of publication, the Unified Development Code, the application, the growth management plan, and the staff report. Not as much history on this project or on this request. Eagle Glen 4th plat was approved by the City Council on September 8th, 2003. The home was later constructed in 2006 with a certificate of occupancy issued for it on April 5th, 2007. The only permit that's been registered with the city at this point is a re-roof permit that was issued in November of 2018 and finalized out on January 9th, 2019. A couple items that staff wanted to highlight were that notices of the request were mailed to 19 adjoining property owners. No objections or concerns were raised. In fact, received another phone call from somebody just asking what was going on, and they did not express any issues with the request. Staff has seen this request occur 5 times in the last 2 years, just since I've been here. And on all these properties, they're either of similar or very close in nature to the request. And in fact, this one actually requests a little bit less than what you would see in your packet. There's a concept plan or something that just gives you more of a visual for the site if you actually didn't have a chance to make it out there. The applicant's only requesting an 8-foot encroachment. That 30-foot build line goes right along the side of the building on the south side. And if you notice, that 8-foot encroachment is actually just the size of the gate. Normally we see, 15 or 20 feet of an encroachment that just is more of the existing fence. And Mr. Gunn had explained the gate suited better to face the front of the I guess what would be Eagle Glen Drive, as opposed to the side where maybe there would be a little more of a security issue for somebody to just walk in off the side of the sidewalk and not be aware of it. Again, tonight we would need a concurring vote of 4 members in order for this request to pass. Staff determined that the variance request meets the intent of the Unified Development Code with respect pertaining to the fencing on corner lots. The requested variance allows for the applicant to locate a gate in their backyard in a common and logical location while limiting the encroachment in the front yard area. Staff then recommends to the Board of Adjustment to accept the staff proposed finding of fact and approve case number 23041, 413 Eagle Glen Drive fence variance. That concludes staff report.
Okay, not seeing anyone else in the audience to ask questions. Does the board have any comments or questions for staff or the applicant? Okay, would anybody like to make a motion for case number 23041, 413 Eagle Glen Drive fence variance?
I'll make a motion that we accept case number 23041, 413 Eagle Glen Drive fence variance.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Hearing none. Case number 23041, 413 Eagle Glen Drive fence variance passes. So that public hearing had been closed for case number 23041, 413 Eagle Glen Drive, so there's no confusion. Any more staff comments?
None pertaining to this item, just obviously moving on into our agenda, if that is okay, Madam Chair. Next month, we will have a meeting again, so we get to see each other once more, and this has been a common theme, so I'm excited about that. Property located at 106 North Sunset Lane is requesting a variance and will be on November the 8th. So we'll see everyone here hopefully at 6 p.m. on November the 8th. We will also have election of officers, so if you want to be starting to think about that, as well as looking at a 2024 calendar for meeting dates and deadlines. So should be a relatively packed meeting, if you will. Also wanted to briefly highlight on some of the monthly report that you actually have in front of you. There were 3 single-family homes permits that were issued for the month of September, as well as 3 commercial permits. Tenant finish work has been completed at 214 West Walnut, which is the Quilted Cow. So I'm not sure if any of you are aware of that, but they actually just got their sign installed, so you should actually be able to drive by and see it. It's just on the south side of the S-curve. So if you haven't had a chance, definitely feel free to stop in. They will definitely be excited, and they actually have a very big following for quilters. We've also received building plans for the redevelopment of Office Max, which is going to be the Sano Orthopedics. There will actually be 3 different users in there, but it'll be physical therapy. For some reason, I was thinking a user for ears, nose, and throat, or something of that nature, but more of a professional office type setting. There's also construction plans that were received for the approved HTO, which will actually be just right here at, I guess that would be the southwest corner of 58 and Sunset. So that little vacant lot that you'll see all the time, that come the 4th of July, there's a firework tent there more often than not. So they've submitted their plans, and that was approved. So we're just waiting for the building plans to be approved at this point. That would conclude staff report, and happy to answer any questions.
Does anybody have questions for the staff? Any other comments from the board?
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Anybody want to second that motion?
I will second that.
And with that motion being seconded, then we will adjourn the Raymore Board of Adjustments meeting at 6:25. Thank you.
We all said aye.
That was a 2 painful.
Nice work, nice work.